Let's round out this module by talking about two powerful new capabilities that are available in Scala and that were previously not available on a JVM platform. I am referring to by name parameters and closures. By name parameters are perfect for when your data is coming in from a volatile source, such as a data stream. Closures are functions which carry around their environment with them. Both of these sound somewhat magical if you have cut your teeth on Java programming. So let's understand how they work. Let's start with by name function parameters. These are parameters to a function which are declared using very slightly different syntax than regular function parameters, where regular function parameters have a colon separating the parameter name and the parameter type. By name function parameters have an arrow there instead. If this function is invoked with a literal specified for this particular parameter value, then regular function parameters and by name function parameters behave exactly the same. Here, a literal refers to a literal value such as a string constant or a variable containing a string. In this situation, regular function parameters and by name function parameters behave identically. However, the semantics change drastically if the by name parameter is specified to be a function call. In this case, every reference to that parameter in the body of our function will cause that particular function call to be recalculated afresh. If that function call is recalculating a value from a volatile source, such as a database or a data stream, then every reference to this parameter in the body of our function will effectively refresh that stream or database operation. This can prove incredibly handy when working with data streams. Let's check out a simple demo demonstrating how biname parameters work. Let's start by defining a simple method which takes in a string. This is a regular parameter, by the way, and in the body of that method, it prints that string out twice. Let's also define a helper method which we call add greeting. Add greeting will effectively print out something to screen. This is important because this helper method needs to have a side effect for this demonstration to work right. We will now recreate this function, say hello, but this time we will specify that the parameter is by name. As you can see, the only difference between these two functions is in the nature of the parameter name. In the first function, say hello to, name is a regular parameter, while in the second, the parameter is followed by an arrow sign, and that signifies that it is a by name parameter. That's really the only difference between these two functions. Let's now go ahead and invoke these two functions using a literal. The literal that we'll use is my name Vittal. And as you can see, the output from these two functions is exactly identical. Clearly, there is no difference in the way these functions work when we specify a literal for the input parameter. Now, let's go ahead and invoke these two functions again, but this time we will pass in a function call. The parameter value in both cases is the function invocation add greeting Vittal. Now you can see that there is a marked difference in the output of the two functions. Specifically, the by name version of the parameter has been evaluated multiple times, as we can tell from the string add greeting. And this is how we know that the first version of the function has only called the add greeting function once, but the second version has invoked that function no less than 3 times. Again, the only difference between the two functions, say hello to and say hello to by name, is in the manner of the function parameter specification. Because we have a by name parameter and because that by name parameter is referenced twice inside the body of that function, the function add greeting gets invoked not once but rather 3 times. Once each for the two references to the name parameter in the body of the function, and the third time for the call in the function invocation itself. That's why we see the string adding greeting appear 3 times in the output from the second function, but only once in the output from the first function. Let's wrap up this module with a discussion of closures, which are yet another powerful new capability in Scala. I should clarify that when I say new, I mean new to the Java environment. Closures are a popular, extremely popular, in fact, feature of JavaScript. The term closure is used to describe a very specific type of function. It is a nested function which has been returned from an outer scope. The magic of closures is that this nested function will continue to carry around its own copy of local variables from that outer scope even after that outer scope ceases to exist. That outer scope is typically a method. Also pay attention to the fact that that nested function is able to access the local variables. This is because the rules of scoping are different in Scala than they are in Java. And the second really cool bit that's going on is that the closure retains its copies of those local variables even if the outer scope has ceased to exist. Closures are incredibly useful and incredibly powerful for advanced Scala programmers who are seeking to create frameworks in Scala. Let's try and get a quick sense of how they work through a simple demo. This happens to be a demo that we have encountered once before while we were talking about converting methods to functions. We create a method called getAreaClosure. GetAreaClosure is a higher order method because its return value is a function, and that function is the nested function object getArea. GetArea is a double in, double out function, and because it's returned from the outer method, it's a closure. Notice that the method getAreaClosure also has some local variables. Specifically, it has the local variable pi assigned the value 3.14159. The function object getArea references this local variable pi in order to calculate the area of the circle whose radius has been passed in. Now, to see the magic of closures in action, let's define a couple of values. We've defined another value named pi, but this is in an outer scope and it has the value of 3.1. And we've also defined a value r for radius with the value 10. Next, we invoke the method getAreaClosure and we save its return value, which of course is a function object. Remember that we had discussed exactly this piece of code in great detail while talking about the conversion of methods to functions. Now that we have the function object, that's the closure, we can use this function object by invoking it. And now when we invoke this function object with the value of r equal to 10, we see the magic of closures because the return value from this function is the constant 314.159. This is enough to tell us, this is enough to demonstrate that our closure has used its local value of pi, that is 3.14159. It has ignored the value of pi 3.1 defined in its immediately surrounding scope.